Hey, everybody. We've all heard that there are two constants in life, death and taxes, but there's a third. It's change. And everything is always changing. And if we're mindful, we change too to keep up. And that's why we observe the seasons to make sure we're in step with the times. Just got back from Alaska. It was a huge, refreshing shift that gave me new eyes and prompted just a big shift. And as we move into fall, the season of dying, I think that's appropriate. As we go on our own personal hero's journey, it's also appropriate to shed the fat, release what's no longer working, and move in a different direction. And that's happening for Fantasia as well. So I've had my Velveteen Rabbit moment. My heart is yearning to become more real. And what I mean by that is that it's time for me to shed pretenses, masks, and illusions. It's time to love and be loved. And I don't just mean romantic love and couples, I mean big love, love people, strangers, fall in love with the wildlife around me, luxuriate in it, and love the big sky and the whole universe. And if my heart isn't big enough to contain all that, to grow it into that size. So, love, experience, and authenticity are the things in the Velveteen Rabbit that transformed him into becoming his truest self. And I think it's a recipe for success. So, I'm following it. And I hope that you will come with me on that path too. So, what does it mean to be real in your own life? I felt more real and alive in Alaska. Our theme was rewild, and I had no idea what that would really look like. But in Alaska, man is not the top predator or top dog. Nature is. Life's dangerous, wild, natural, and things are in their proper order. There are 10,000 ways to die in Alaska. You can fall into a crevasse, drown, slip on some ice, get mauled by a bear or a moose, get hypothermia, get crushed by an avalanche, or just fall on some loose rocks and never be found. I don't typically go out in twos or tell anyone where I'm going and when I'll be back, but that's a very good idea in Alaska so they know where to search for you when you don't come back home. And the results of that for me was way more mindfulness. I paid attention to the crisp, clean air and appreciated it. I savored the fresh water. I drank in the views and sent love to the trees who were loving me back. I felt alive, grounded, and real. And I love to share all my discoveries with others in case they too are inspired and can learn from them. So I'm going to talk about what it means to be real to me and invite you to join me on this quest. So do you remember the story of the Velveteen Rabbit? When I first heard it as a child, I absolutely fell in love with it. It's about this stuffed rabbit who was given to a boy for Christmas, and he was forgotten among the fancier electronic fancy schmancy toys and just kind of laid around for a while. The other toys in the nursery looked down on the Velveteen Rabbit. They thought that they were better than he was and put on airs, or another way of saying it is that they wore masks, but not the skin horse. And don't ask me what a skin horse is. I'm afraid to know that answer. This book was written in the 1800s, so I think it's like a rocking horse or a horse on springs. The Velveteen Rabbit noticed the way that the other toys behaved and asked the skin horse what it means to be real. Real isn't how you're made, said the skin horse. It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real. Does it hurt? Asked the rabbit. Sometimes, said the skin horse, for he was always truthful. When you are real, you don't mind being hurt. Then the skin horse said, it doesn't happen all at once. You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily or have sharp edges or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you're real, most of your hair has been left off and your eyes drop out and you're loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all because once you are real, you can't be ugly except to people who don't understand. And he ended with, once you're real, you can't become unreal. It lasts for always. Later, the boy couldn't find the toy he slept with, so his nanny gave him the rabbit. And from that moment on, the boy began to sleep with and play with the rabbit. He and the rabbit formed a loving bond. And as time went on, the rabbit's fur became shabby, but the rabbit didn't care. When the nanny remarked on how tattered the toy bunny was, the boy defended him and said, he's not a toy, he's real. Then one summer day, the boy and his bunny were out, and the boy left the rabbit on the ground while he went exploring, and some rabbits came by. They looked amazing. Their fur was fluffy and looked brand new. You couldn't see their seams at all. Their bodies changed shape when they moved, bunching together and then elongating. Their noses twitched instead of staying fixed like his. They didn't have any winder or switch to make them move. They stared at each other in wonder, and then the real rabbits asked him to come and play with them. The Velveteen Rabbit didn't have any machinery, but he didn't want to tell them that, so he said he didn't want to. The rabbits weren't buying it. One of them challenged him and said, "I don't think you can." The Velveteen Rabbit said, "I can too," but he didn't really have any hind legs. He was always in a sitting position. One of the rabbits moved closer and he could see that he had no legs. He could also smell that he didn't smell like a rabbit, and he said, "He's not real. He's not a rabbit at all." This broke the Velveteen's rabbit heart. But just then he could hear the boy returning from the woods, and the rabbits scattered. The Velveteen Rabbit wanted so badly for the rabbits to return. He wanted so much to be able to play with them, but life went on as usual, and he didn't see the wild rabbits again. But he still had the love of the little boy, and even though the Velveteen Rabbit became shabbier and shabbier, to the boy he was always beautiful. Then one day, the boy became ill. He became hot and sweaty and talked in his sleep. Strangers came into the nursery to look at him. The rabbit stayed with him, afraid that someone might see him and take him away because he knew the boy needed him. When the boy began to recover, the doctor ordered that the room be disinfected of scarlet fever germs. All the books and toys must be burned. So everything was gathered up into a sack and given to the gardener to burn. The gardener had a lot to do and left the bag untended, so that night the Velveteen Rabbit poked his head out of the bag and looked around. He remembered all the good times he had had with the boy, how they used to play in the garden, how the boy would roll over on him in bed. He remembered the skin horse and their talk about becoming real. Every memory was more beautiful and sadder than the one before it. His heart filled with sadness, and he wondered what was the point of love and becoming real if all it meant was losing your beauty and feeling all this pain. Just then, a tear fell from his eyes, and where it landed sprang a mysterious flower unlike any that grew in the garden. It was so stunning that the rabbit forgot to cry and sat staring, mesmerized by its beauty. From its petals stepped a fairy who said, "I'm the nursery magic fairy. I take care of all the playthings that the children have loved. I turn them into real." This confused the rabbit. He said, "Wasn't I real before?" The fairy replied, "You were real to the boy because he loved you. Now you will be real to everyone." The fairy lifted him up and took him into the woods where there were a bunch of bunnies playing. She told them to treat him well and teach him all he needs to know because he would live here with them forever. The Velveteen Rabbit was accepted, loved, and had a good life with the family of bunnies. Then the next spring, the boy was in his garden with his new toy, and he spied two bunnies, and he thought to himself, "He looks just like my old bunny that I lost when I had scarlet fever." He never really knew that it was the bunny who had come back to see the child who first helped him to become real. So being real to me means being a part of this dance of life. It means not being distracted by news of war, politics, or the economy, not being on social media, but having face-to-face conversations about things that matter, not gossip or celebrities. It's about thinking for yourself instead of the media telling me what's real and important. Being real is about getting wet, cold, and hungry at times. It's being uncomfortable and not needing for things to be different because you know it's temporary and you know you're hardier than that. It's about creating things from imagination, need, inspiration, and just a drive to be useful. It's about expressing the talents and skills that you have in a way that benefits yourself and others. Being real is about engaging with other people that are real. Real people, real plants, the earth, animals, the elements. It's about being aware of how they move in the world and collaborating with them rather than dominating them or controlling them. It's about listening to my body and giving it the food and exercise that it needs rather than training myself to sit at the desk and ignore my body so that I can be productive and get through the day. Being real is also about being emotional, vulnerable, and accessible. Real doesn't happen at a vacuum. It happens in community. So it's not enough for me to be real. I have to have real people who can see me as real and relate to me as real. If other people project masks onto me, that's not satisfying. It doesn't make me fake, but it means our relationship isn't real. So I need you to be on this journey with me. I need you to be willing to love, be vulnerable, and take on life's hardships so that we can have a real community to live and thrive in. I started my YouTube channel about 7 years ago, and everybody said you had to be on every big platform. You have to have a podcast, blah, blah, blah. And that's not me. I don't want to spend my time getting likes and gaining followers. I don't want followers. I want community. I want people who can think for themselves and offer their wisdom to others. I don't want to follow trends and help whoever is creating the narrative to get that message out. I want to encourage people to listen to their hearts and to see the wisdom inside. I want people to trust themselves and be authentic. What that looks like for me is that I'm cutting my YouTube and podcast. I used to blog a lot before my YouTube days, and that's what I enjoy the most. I post at least once a week, but post when I want to. Talk about what I want to talk about, share what I'm seeing in the world, and keep it short and sweet so that you don't need 20 minutes to share a bit of my day and hopefully take on some of that inspiration or wisdom that can help you in yours. So I'm on Substack now. It's Laura Giles 804. It's free to follow me and comment, but there is an option to subscribe and support if you want to. I think that's how it should be. This is not my profession, it's my passion. I see it as a spiritual calling, a ministry, and I don't believe in charging for spirituality. If you gain value and want to support, fabulous, appreciate it. If you don't see any value in what I share, you shouldn't reciprocate because you didn't receive anything. If you got value and choose not to reciprocate, then we don't have the same values. And I prefer to have you in the outer circle. No offense taken, no judgment offered. But people like that don't share the same community mindset that I want to cultivate. So by all means, dip your toe in, take your time figuring out if it's for you. But if you stay on the fringe, don't participate, and only take, that's not the type of reality that I want to live in. So it's best for you to stay where you are. So let me explain. You always hear me say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? So I want to be around the 5 people who are going to uplift me, challenge me, support me, and are good company. If you don't share yourself, engage in reciprocity, you're not one of those people. But that's my closest 5. The rest of the community is made up of up to 145 people, so a total of 150. That's Dunbar's number. Robin Dunbar came up with this idea that primates thrive in groups of no more than 150, and humans are primates. This is because in a group of that size, you have to have a balance of skills so that people can do all the work that the community requires and everybody knows everybody else. That's important. So you have to have skin in the game. It creates an interdependence where everyone thrives. So on my Substack page, you will see that the header says, recreating the world one village at a time. And that's my vision. The Fantasia private group is for everybody. The inner sanctuary is for those 150. As we cultivate our online community, we build leaders who can take what we do in the private group out into their real world because we need leaders. I don't see a lot of people who know how to be in community. I've been in many sacred spaces where people who can't be quiet have to make noise or they'll leave the space because they can't stand it. If you've ever been in a silent retreat that isn't silent, you know what I mean. We need leaders with a strong sense of personal presence. And if you don't know what I mean by that, check out the podcast on the Childlike Empress. And these people show people how to lead themselves. If you've ever been to a retreat where every moment is scripted and scheduled, again, you know what I mean. People don't know how to lead themselves, how to be, to have an experience, allow it to digest, and then find their own meaning from it. I don't want to be the type of leader who tells you what to think. And that fits the cap of 150 people too, because I don't think that there are a lot of people who want that. We are a consumer driven culture that wants the end result, and we don't want to deal with the messy middle. Just jump to the punchline and that's it. That's like having sex to see how fast you can climax. So it's not very useful or fun, is it? Life's a process, not a race. It's an experience, not a destination. And I want people in the group who understand that and want that. And I get it. We're scared to death of being real. We're taught from birth to put on the mask and never let it slip. When someone makes fun of you for your clothes when you're a little kid, that's social engineering at work. Someone has gotten to that kid and said, conform. Conformity is slavery. We do need some social rules to keep everyone safe and for survival, but beyond that is soul killing. You can wear what you want to wear, listen to whatever type of music you want, or talk about what you enjoy, eat what you want to eat, and enjoy your leisure time in a way that pleases you. This is the world I want to live in, a world of individuality, creativity, and freedom to express. I think we live in a world that is hugely devoid of creativity. AI doesn't create, it only copies. Only the human mind can create, and when we live inside a scripted box where politics tells us what to think, we kill that creativity. Remember the Velveteen Rabbit? He was real because he wasn't shiny and perfect anymore. He was imperfect and was okay with that showing. That's all our reality. When we embrace our imperfections and accept them in others, we can have real relationships. Where there is acceptance without judgment, there is peace, intimacy, and a sense of belonging. I don't want a curated identity. I don't want to craft an image so people will resonate with me and follow me. I don't want branding. I want a real community of quirky, interesting, but well boundaried people. Those boundaries are what makes this work. Otherwise, we're a group of takers who descend like locusts to devour everything we say we love. Got to be a producer, not a consumer. We do this through relationships. The worn edges and imperfections are sources of beauty because they come from hard knocks. They may be signs of things we still need to resolve, but they shaped us, they drive us, and all of those things are beautiful. And remember this too: the things in others that trigger us are mirrors. They show us what's unresolved within ourselves. Alaska was amazing, but not totally. I was triggered a few times, and you better believe the first thing that I did was to ask myself, what's going on with me? Yes, it was provoked by someone else, but it's my stuff, and I knew that. And it took me a while to pinpoint because we're always blind to our own stuff. But this stuff is a gift. It's life reflecting who we are as creators and saying, hey, this is what you've created. How do you like it? The uncomfortable bits like grief, failure, sadness, and anger, or even just change, are there to help strip away the illusions and keep things interesting. It's life saying, there's more. Want some? So if you're not mindful every day, if you're not making time for periodic check ins with yourself, like the new moon or the full moon or the solstices, equinoxes, birthdays, girls' outings, or whenever, you're probably missing opportunities for expansion. If you're hesitant about being the creator of reality that you are, or being a part of a community, or even just investigating whether anything I'm saying makes any sense, ask yourself, where am I still playing pretend? What masks am I wearing? Where can I really be myself? Or what would I risk if I let somebody uh, see my real self? Something like that. I know it's scary. I'm scared to death every day. And I still show up because the alternative to me is unacceptable. I'm here and I want to be here as long as I am here. I think Earth is a fascinating place. I want to experience it. I think humans are an astonishing species, and I want to see us do some of the loving, creative things that I know that we're capable of. I'm always discovering what a cool person I am. It's like I'm a baby and figuring out that my toes are my toes and I have control over my hands. It really is that wild, and I can't wait to find out what I can do next. So, I'm not the expert on becoming real. I'm a work in progress. I read some things, but mostly I use my own observation and experience to see what I feel and believe. It's always changing. It's definitely not instant, and there isn't a four-step process that works like magic for everyone. It can hurt. It likely will hurt. You're going to be asked to give up some things and some people who were a huge part of your earlier self. Some beliefs will go by the wayside, and that might not be easy, but you will gain freedom and connection. Free for me looks like less reliance on technology. I didn't take my computer to Alaska and have reduced my screen time. I want to live in the real world, not a digital one. And I'm downsizing social media. I want to think my thoughts, not someone else's. I want to hear from real people that I know and trust, not strangers, because the 5 people you spend the most time with dictate who you are. And I guard that influence like a mother dragon. Free for me means guarding my privacy by not having smart appliances that spy on me and sell my data. I don't use products where I am the product. I use services like Proton Mail for email and Signal for messaging and the Brave browser so that all my data and my life story isn't ripe for theft. I also don't put anything on the cloud. I don't have a real ID or do biometrics when I go through an airport. I don't want to be declared brain dead so my organs can be harvested. I'm not having any babies, but I don't think the medical community should be profiting from the sale of placentas while the mother gets nothing. I turn off my phone at night. I don't give my location unless I have to. I turn off my microphone. I erase all apps I don't actually use. And I don't want my life to be exploited for someone else's gain. We have a book club. It's the first time I've ever been in a book club, and I'm enjoying it because I get to hear all kinds of perspectives that I just wouldn't think of on my own. We read things I wouldn't have chosen. We're not teaching kids how to write in cursive anymore. We're using ChatGPT instead of libraries. There's value in written words. They can't be erased or edited remotely. So I'm reading physical books. I'm learning new skills. I signed up for a basket weaving class, and I know some of you are saying, finally, because it's taken forever, been talking about it forever, and I finally did it. And I want to have practical skills. I want to have my hands on something that can be useful to others. I want to be able to do this in community with others. Sewing circles used to be a way that women got their stress out and connected. And we have therapists now, which I don't think that's a good substitute. I also don't think having mass manufactured items that we think of as disposable is a good substitute for handcrafted high quality items. So I hope to be making some practical baskets. And who knows, they may be even good enough one day to be considered work of art. The big picture of that is self reliance. We all need to be able to do something practical for ourselves. There is a huge lack of practical skills in this world. People don't change their own oil in the car anymore or cut their own grass. We lose connection and a sense of pride when we outsource labor. So I'm letting myself be inconvenienced. I'm washing my own car, cooking my own food, and using my head to get where I want instead of ChatGPT. I'm figuring things out and not being intellectually lazy. I'm using my own time and hard work, and it's liberating. Everything is expensive in Alaska. They don't live like the lower 48, not where I was at least. They keep things longer. They take care of what they have, downsize, and only have what they need. I love that. It makes me less reliant on working. I can work less, have less, and be more financially free. So being real for me means being free from the social media machine. It means I get to decide who I am. I'm not a robot that is controlled by social, political, or economic news. I'm not a product. I'm a person with dignity and authenticity. And when I connect with you, we can actually get to know each other because I show up, not some symbol or archetype. I get to be me, you get to see me, and that's pretty exciting. Probably sounds really scary. It is to me too, but remember the Velveteen Rabbit's journey. He was loved. He was seen as real by one person. It hurt. Then he was seen as real by all. If that's where you want to live, please join me on Substack. The page is Laura Giles 804 or in my private Fantasia group, which is in the show notes. Both are free to join and have paid options as well. I think becoming free, meaning not only letting go of the mask, but also to tear off the yoke of social oppression and slavery, is our one job. It's a lonely place to stand and a hard stand to make, but together it becomes easier and more enjoyable. Thanks for joining me on Fantasia, and I hope to continue to journey with you on Substack and the private group. Ciao.
Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Spotify so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, why not show your love with a review? Thanks. See you next week.